Shout out to Ring RQ, Julius, you legend. We're going to do a joint interview, yeah? Yeah, we'll do a joint interview, Julius. Thanks for the support. You're a legend. From your girls, Raven and Ellie.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that Canadia's own Jessica Camara is set to return to action next month on the 15th opposite the ring, Vicot.
This will be Jessica Camara's third fight since having dropped a very close decision to then champion, then unified champion, Kaylee Reese.
Hotly contested, somewhat controversial decision. Some people thought Kaylee won the fight. Some people thought Jessica won the fight. Either way, it was a very entertaining matchup, and Jessica gave a very good account of herself. She's going to be opposite the ring. Priska,
who sports a professional record of 14 wins with 8 losses, no draws.
2 knockouts to Jessica Camara, who sports a professional record of 10 wins with 3 losses, no draws.
2 knockouts.
She's 13 years younger than Priska. She's 13 years younger, certainly fresher, at 34 years old. Priska, God bless her, she's pushing 50.
What?
I know. Priska's 47 years old. It's not often you see a fighter that age fighting. There's something to be said about the efficacy of a boxing match involving a fighter that's close to 50 years old. I mean, 47, that's just 2 or 3 nose hairs away from 50.
You really even put on a show at that age? And if you can, should you?
Priska, she's a tough old bird, and she's not ready to call it a career. She's not ready to call it quits. She's going to be sharing the ring with Jessica Camara very soon. Jessica, who rebounded off the loss to Kaylee Reese last year, saw action 2 times last year.
You know that I half expected to hear that Jessica would be fighting Chantel Cameron?
I did, because Jessica's already rebounded off the loss to Kaylee Reese, and because Chantel,
she's not fighting Katie Taylor.
She's not having a rematch with Jessica McCaskill. Jessica's got a mandatory challenger to satisfy in Ivana Habazin. We talked about that in a previous video.
Chantel's not fighting Katie. She's not fighting Jessica.
She's not fighting Kaylee. Former unified champion Kaylee Reese, who has since vacated her titles, and she's opposite the small screen acting legend Jodie Foster.
Many blessings to her.
Kaylee's a great lady and a gracious champion, a gracious fighter, one of the more down-to-earth fighters I've had the privilege to speak to, but it doesn't look like Chantel's fighting her.
Not fighting Christina Lenarda, too, either. Christina's rumored to be in talks to take on Michaela Mayer.
And you know, that's why I half expected to hear news that Chantel Cameron would be taking on Jessica Camara. As it stands, Jessica's fighting Priska instead, but who knows? It's still early in the year, and there may still be time to do a fight between Chantel and Jessica, provided Jessica makes it past Priska.
Let's see if she can. Priska, who saw action 2 times in 2021 and only once, just once in 2022, just once in March of last year. In that way, the night of, it will have been a year's time since Priska had a fight.
Whereas Jessica Camara, comparatively, she has been a bit more active in the last 12 months. She did have 2 fights last year. It's good that she's fighting as frequently as she's fighting, because that allows her to continue to work on things and stay sharp.
Stay active.
At minimum, that's the virtue. Allow her to work on things, continue to gain momentum until she eventually can move into a bigger fight with a bigger name.
Like a Chantel Cameron.
This is a super lightweight contest, after all. This is a 140-pound fight. And we all know who the woman to beat at 140 pounds is. It's Chantel Cameron. We still don't know who Chantel is fighting.
A lot of other fights have been announced for Matchroom's Valkyries. Ellie Scottney versus Maureen O'Shea.
Rhiannon Dixon versus Vicky Wilkinson.
Terry Harper versus Cecilia Brækhus.
And of course, the upcoming Taylor versus Serrano rematch, that mega fight.
But we still don't know what Matchroom has in store for its super lightweight undisputed champion, Chantel Cameron. Hopefully at some point she gets to share the ring with the winner of this fight.
The winner of next month's Camara versus Vicot fight, who I anticipate will beat Jessica Camara.
Jessica on points makes sense.
She's really not that big a puncher, but she's certainly a younger, fresher fighter than Priska is, and, you know, given Jessica's activity, she's gonna be sharp.
Certainly sharper than Priska.
I like Jessica Camara to win. I like Jessica Camara to win a points decision next month on the 15th. And what she does after that, we'll see.
The nail Gvozdyk. You were back. I'm surprised. What brought you back, Alexander?
Well, there were some circumstances, and actually, biggest part of it is situation in my country. You know, because I was spending a lot of time there. Now it's war. Part of it is I lost a lot. The other part, I just want to this way support my country also by raising my flag in sports arenas.
This interview comes to us by way of veteran boxing scribe Steve Kim, friend to the channel, who very recently caught up to Alexander Gvozdyk ahead of his upcoming fight this weekend.
His comeback fight.
Comeback 4 years in the making. It was 2019, late 2019, when we last saw this guy in action opposite the ring, the very devastating Artur Beterbiev in what was their unification match. And it sounds a lot like the war affected Alexander Gvozdyk enough that he's come back to the sport.
Biggest part of it is situation in my country, because I was spending a lot of time there. Now it's war. Part of it is I lost a lot. The other part, I just want to this way support my country also by raising my flag in sports arenas.
Did you find that you missed the sport at all? Did you miss the grind, the training?
Well, yes, a little bit. It was there.
I remember after the Artur Beterbiev fight and after Alexander suffered his first professional loss, he made some mention of a career change, something else that he was going to get into.
It was after he officially retired.
I wouldn't say it was crazy, so I couldn't sleep at night, but it was there a little bit, especially when you're coming back to the ring, when you go into some fights, when you see other guys coming from the locker room, you want to get this feeling again sometimes.
It seems that extenuating circumstances have led Alexander Gvozdyk back to the sport, and in that way you have to question, is his heart really in it when it's the circumstances that led him back?
It's not just scratching an itch,
How did your family feel about your decision?
Family always support me in any of my decisions.
So, you are back. The light heavyweight division has a lot of activity, some big names, some that you're very familiar with. Do you have a goal in mind, or do you just want to see how this weekend plays out and then figure out what you want to do?
I don't like to see too much in advance in the future. So let's see how this weekend gonna go. But yeah, definitely my goal is to fight the top guys, not this kind of guys.
Quite right. If Alexander Gvozdyk, after roughly 4 years away from boxing, has decided to come back, I hardly think it's to fight ham and egg guys on small shows.
You heard what he said. He was affected by the war at a time when he was spending a lot of time in Ukraine.
And he lost a lot, so it looks like he means to get it back, the only way he knows how.
So your last fight was 2019.
2019.
And now we're just beginning 2023. Did your body need the rest? Did it feel good to just kind of step away from the sport?
I think my body got some rest. 3.5 years, I think it's more than enough. But we will see if it's start deteriorates.
Alexander Gvozdyk, the former WBC light heavyweight champion, is set to share the ring with Josue Obando this weekend. Career journeyman Josue Obando from Mexico, who's coming off of 7 consecutive losses. You heard that right, 7 consecutive losses as part of a Marv Nation show over there in Pomona, California.
Josue sports a professional record of 20 wins with 34 losses, 2 draws, 15 knockouts, having been knocked out 11 times.
Last saw action in May of last year. He took the rest of the year off based on his record. He needed to. This will be his first fight of this year. Both boys are on the bounce. Both boys are on the rebound.
As stated, Alexander Gvozdyk is now attempting to rebound off the loss to Artur Beterbiev 4 years, approximately 3 to 4 years after that fight took place.
Even though extenuating circumstances are what led him back to the sport, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I wasn't excited, because I am.
There's no shame in losing to Artur Beterbiev, the strongest finisher in this division by a wide margin. By and large, the man is dangerous, and that's established.
I know it is. The silver lining is, after 3.5, close to 4 years, Alexander Gvozdyk has had more than enough time to recuperate from that knockout loss, nurse his wounds, and get back in the swing of things. Albeit 3.5 years later.
Albeit a bit impromptu. I don't think this is what he was planning on doing.
Doesn't sound like it. It sounds like the Russia versus Ukraine war is what led Alexander Gvozdyk back to the West and back to boxing.
Let's not beat around the bush here. We know why he's back, and there's money to make.
If Alexander Gvozdyk can have a couple more fights, just like this one, provided he actually wins this one, and I happen to think he can, I happen to think he will, even if that presupposition is somewhat presumptuous, this guy's a great boxer, in case you forgot.
The nail, as they called him.
Great dimensions for a light heavyweight, good power, good fundamentals, good movement.
He's got that Eastern European style to where he beats his feet a lot even if he doesn't really move his torso. Torso's a bit upright.
Eastern European methodology for managing the distance. Alexander Gvozdyk, he doesn't really bend at the waist much.
Move his torso, angle it away from punches. His methodology to get out of the range of punches is to beat his feet. For the most part, it works for him.
Just not with auteur better beef, and that's all right. That's okay. Not everybody's auteur better beef anyway.
Thank goodness.
Money to be made in the men's light heavyweight division, make no mistake. There is money to be made. Now, I don't actually think it's a good idea for Alexander Gvozdyk to return to Top Rank. I think he's gotten all he can get out of Top Rank at this point in the juncture. The biggest fight they could make for him is an Artur Beterbiev fight.
He's already been there and done that.
It doesn't make sense to go back to Top Rank. It really doesn't make sense to go to the PBC either. The PBC have no stake in the men's light heavyweight division. They wouldn't have anything to offer Alexander Gvozdyk.
Two best places to go for Alexander are either Golden Boy Promotions or Matchroom.
If you were to go to Golden Boy, after a couple of fights, couple of bring-along fights, just like this one, the one he's about to have this weekend, they could see about building up a Zurdo Ramirez fight. Zurdo Ramirez needs quality opponents, and Golden Boy, they need the bodies.
Gvozdyk, he needs the money.
So Golden Boy, that's one place he could go. Matchroom. Matchroom is yet another, and I dare say that Matchroom...
He's a prime candidate. That's the best place for him to go. They have more of a stake in the men's light heavyweight division than some others.
Got Craig Richards and Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi, Dimitri Bivol.
That's a fight that Alexander Gvozdyk can build himself up towards.
Provided he makes it past this weekend's fight, and I think that he can, you know. This isn't the first we've heard of Gvozdyk's ring return. We actually did a video on it here on the channel 4 months ago. That means at minimum, he's been in the gym for the last couple of months.
He didn't just get off the plane from Kharkiv, Ukraine.
He's been back for a while now, working on things, reacquainting himself with the sport. 35 years old, he'll be 36 in April. Not the youngest guy, certainly not the youngest, but not the oldest either.
Artur Beterbiev several years older than him.
At 35, 36 years old, it's really not too late for Alexander to get something going, build himself up towards a big fight and a big payday, though I don't want to get ahead of myself. We got to see what the guy looks like.
Got a lot of ring rust to shake off.
But I think he's going to be all right. I think he will make it past this weekend's fight.
We'll see where he goes from there.
Now you're defending your titles against Inoue in Japan. Tell us why.
I was in talks with Brandon Figueroa back in November before the Inoue fight. And I was only going to do that because, you know, to silence the critics. Everybody was talking and, oh, it was a close fight and this person won, this one lost. So I wanted to silence the critics. But after I heard that Inoue was moving up, I made the call to Lou Cuba. And we all got Al on the phone and then we made it happen. Al gave me the blessing. And that's something I wanted to do.
That's something that took a lot of us by surprise, myself in particular, because I didn't think we were going to be here, but I'm glad that we are.
I didn't think Al Heyman would allow it.
I'm still shocked that he did.
Now, I feel like that's how my whole career went. Anything I wanted to do, Al allow me to do that.
Make no mistake, Al Heyman allowed it. Stephen Fulton said that himself in so many words. That is what he said.
Al Heyman gave him the blessing to go to Japan and take on Inoue, but what would have happened if he didn't?
As well as me wanting it for myself.
What went into your decision to go over to Japan to fight Inoue when he's the one coming up in weight? You're the one with the titles at 122 and the belt on the line.
The money.
In one word, it's the money. Now, Oya Inoue is the biggest name, worth the most money, anywhere at or around bantamweight or super bantamweight.
It's the money, Brian.
I need some excitement. Nothing is exciting me no more. I feel like this when I come alive. This is when I feel like everyone's looking at me like, oh, his back is against the wall. Why is the champion going over Japan?
Because the champion, God bless him, he's not worth the same money that Naoya Inoue is. He can't make that money off his name alone. That's the truth. That's reality. Neither Stephen Fulton or MJ Akhmadaliev are worth the same money that Inoue is in Japan. He can get you paid.
And this is prize fighting, so let's just cut the fucking crap.
I don't blame Stephen. I'm just saying that's the truth.
I'm glad he's doing this.
I called this fight back in 2021, 2020. I've been said that. I said, I'm going to have to go to Japan and fight. I told my coach, I'm going to have to go to Japan and fight him.
I mean, that's the way it is. If Stephen Fulton could make the same kind of money he's about to make with Inoue, staying on his own side of the street and staying here in America, then he likely would have stayed here in America. But the truth is,
that's the biggest money fight you can have at super bantamweight.
So I don't blame Stephen at all for traveling. I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad to be wrong because I didn't think we were going to be here.
And he didn't understand. Like, man, why would you do that? It's the same thing. Why would you go there? And I said, that's a big fight. Said, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. And now look where we at.
Mr. Akihiko Honda is the lead promoter for the show, helming promotion in the land of the rising sun. Here in America, Top Rank will be distributing the fight by way of ESPN+. Al Heyman has very little to do with this fight.
Perhaps that's why it's actually happening, unlike Spence versus Crawford.
All the snags and snafus we've seen in association with Davis versus Garcia.
Things with this fight appear to be going smoothly.
Do you think you can get a decision in Japan?
I mean, I feel like when you take those type of trips, you don't just go over there for a decision. But if it comes down to that, I feel like yes.
Word from out of Japan is that they're already ramping up promotion for this fight between Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue, and it's one of the biggest fights the country will have ever seen.
Can't stress this enough that I didn't think this fight was going to happen. I didn't think we were going to be here because I didn't think Al Heyman was going to allow it.
But he did, and we have to try and wrap our minds around why that is, and I don't know. I mean, you see Top Rank outsourcing a good number of their fighters. They were going to have Michaela Mayer box Christina Lenardatu in Scotland on the undercard of Taylor versus Catterall.
That was going to be on Boxer's dime, not Top Rank's.
Very recently had their unified light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev travel to London for the Anthony Yard fight. That was a Queensbury promotion show, not a Top Rank show.
They're planning on sending Teofimo Lopez to the UK to take on Josh Taylor.
That's the latest, and if and when that fight happens, that's going to be on Sky Sports and Boxer's dime, more than Top Ranks. So maybe the same rings true with the PBC. You will notice that Tony Harrison, former champion Tony Harrison, is set to travel to Australia for the Tim Tszyu fight. That's going to be on No Limit Promotions' dime, not the PBC's.
Not Showtime's.
They're not paying for that fight. They're not paying for this fight between Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue. The financial burden of doing the show isn't on them. It's on Akihiko Honda, if it's on anybody.
So maybe what we're looking at is American-based promotional outfits outsourcing their fighters to offload the burden to keep them busy.
This way, they can keep them busy and ensure that some money gets put in their pocket, even if it's not their money.
It's some other promoter's money on some other platform.
There's nothing they could have offered Stephen Fulton here in America on the Showtime side of things that would have been equal to or greater in value than an Inoue fight. So in that way, the best thing Al Heyman could do is just get out of the way and don't muck things up.
Reported estimates put the value of Stephen Fulton's purse as somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million, or just a little over that. That's a lot of money for a super bantamweight.
Guys at 118, 122 pounds, they don't make that kind of money. Inoue's celebrity is what makes that possible.
Credit to Stephen Fulton for getting while the getting was good, where the getting is good. Win or lose, he's going to make a lot of scratch.
And that's the name of the game. I'm all for fighters adding to their legacies and taking on tough challenges, but the name of the game is prize fighting. And this offers Stephen the biggest prize.